world, and we'll be talking about that here on World Edition, on another edition here on Pod TV. And like I said, a lot's taking place in the world, and of course, a lot of things are going on in these conflicts and everything like that. Russian missile and drone barrage in Ukrainian capital region killed 17, so that's one of the things that is being reported out of the world news. And Trump says Strait of Hormuz deal could come Wednesday. And that was actually an old story and all along those lines, but he's saying that it could come Wednesday as gas prices stay high. So I guess he's talking about this coming today and everything like that. Proposed Hormuz deal would give Iran control of inbound traffic, sources say. An agreement on the Strait of Hormuz is taking shape, but not one that Trump wants, is what is being reported by CNN.com. And definitely Mexican influencer Cesar Gastelum is shot to death doing a live stream. So that is definitely something that folks are talking about, as well as definitely the popular social media influencer was shot dead doing a live stream outside a restaurant in Mexico. So definitely that's something that folks are paying attention to out of Latin America. Europe is blowing up riverbeds as an extreme drought wreaks havoc on its economy, causes cruises thrown into chaos as drought strands ships, leaves passengers scrambling, and Europe's rivers are running dry, and the knock-on effects are disastrous. Europe's heat wave fuels drought, wildfires, and fears about energy supplies. Drone carrying explosives found at a German airport, police say. Drone carrying explosive device causes disruption at a major German airport. German DHL cargo plane hit object as drone found at Leipzig airport. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. How being cool is making Hague a vacation hotspot, so are coolcations still cool, as what the Seattle Times is reporting, why you should consider going to a hot place. Surging temperatures are taking the coolcation trend global. Baking Brits ditch bowling heat waves and wildfires for Scottish coolcations. So they're trying to find places that are a little bit cooler and everything like that. Shocking video shows Russian drone hunting civilian at Kherson market. Video shows Russian drone chasing a Ukrainian street vendor in a human safari attack. Ukraine accuses Russia of war crime after video shows drone attacking vegetable sellers in Kherson. I showed it our vegetable, it flew at me. Ukrainian vendor hunted by Russian FBV drone recalls the attack. And Taiwan launches major war game to test command flexibility. Taiwan kicks off annual military drill to counter a potential Chinese attack. Taiwan is preparing for a PLA sea blockade in its biggest war games. Taiwan braces for the annual Hong Kong anti-invasion drills with a new twist. And Trump and Iran clash over Strait of Hormuz talks as cargo ship is attacked. So Gulf shipping traffic steady amid uncertainty of the peace talks in that region. So that's definitely something that folks are talking about as well. Trade vessel struck by a projectile in Strait of Hormuz amid U.S.-Iran talks. And Donald Trump announces Gaza peace plan involving Hamas disarmament. Trump and Netanyahu may be at odds over the Gaza plan. Israel conveys concerns to the U.S. about the Hamas disarmament deal, and after deadly days, Gazans say Trump's touting the plan jars with grim reality. Netanyahu says no Israeli withdrawal from Gaza until certain demands from Hamas. A historic Super El Nino is underway, and here's how this video could definitely shape things and all along those lines. And some people are asking what's the strongest El Nino on record. And El Nino could push millions into acute hunger, UN warns. This summer isn't breaking heat records yet. Wait until El Nino kicks in, is what scientists are saying. Oil prices rebound after Houthis say they attacked a Saudi tanker. Oil prices move higher after Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis claim Saudi tanker strike. Houthis threaten to expand Red Sea attack and claim strike on Saudi tanker. Yemen's Houthis say they'll target tankers in northern Red Sea. And runaway online rumors sparked frantic rush by migrants to the Spanish town of the Spanish colony of Ceuta. Ceuta border rush, loved ones in limbo over missing family members. Moroccan families seek missing loved ones after a migrant surge to Spain's Ceuta. Two cities with a tangled history is what is being reported in the New York Times. Professor Jason Arde addresses plagiarism allegations, playbooks, plagiarisms, and the pigheads. new claims surround a star Cambridge professor. So that's something that we're hearing as well. I'm going to take a little bit of a news break and then I'll be right back. But we're going to play a couple of quick announcements. So actually, I'm going to play this little short commercial and all in.
Skipping through the end times.
Oh, what the hell, Sammy?
I'm sorry, boss. I'm sorry.
We had a deal, Sammy.
I know, boss. I stay in my corner of the shower and don't encroach on your territory, and I stay out of the toilet. I understand.
That's right. I like you, Sammy. You're a good spider. You eat all the flies that somehow always make it into the shower. But rules are rules. One more time, and it's into the toilet.
I understand. I understand. But, hey, boss, since we're dealing in favors, I was wondering if I could ask for just one. One request, and I'll never fall on you. I'll never ask for another favor ever again.
What is it, Sam? Make it quick. I got this thing I gotta do.
Well, as I'm sure you've noticed, the house has been pretty fly and gnat-free for a couple weeks now, and food is getting a little low. You think you could leave the back window open for a couple hours, just so I...
Valdosta Nissan has your new Nissan. Come drive yours away today.
Our flagship all-new 2022 Nissan Pathfinder comes with style and new advanced safety technology. Go on a new adventure with just 1.9% financing right now. 2022 Rogues are dropping in daily, also available with just 1.9% financing right now.
Plus, get free oil changes for life and a 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. That's real service after the sale.
The thrill of the drive, only at Valdosta Nissan.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
How you holding up? Nothing wrong with getting help.
If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence?
Now you need my help.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Going back to the news and all along those lines, like I said, Professor Jason Arday has been in the news because of plagiarism charges and all along those lines. So definitely he's been accused of plagiarizing his PhD, and definitely this is something that is in the news coming out as well. And definitely folks are talking about how the Ukraine war became a fight for the skies. Russia is far from defeated, is what is reported by the Center for European Policy Analysis. Ukraine's turn tide doesn't comfort with basic military reality, is what is being said by a publication called The Responsible Statecraft, and all along those lines. But I'll bring in Rick Rosner, see what he's got to say about a number of news stories that are going on. We'll see if other folks join us as well. Pope Leo will be visiting Peru, where he lived for years, in November. So Pope Leo will be visiting Peru in November, and he's also to visit Uruguay, Argentina in his first Latin American trip as a pontiff. So he'll be heading to an area that apparently he knows fairly well. And Ghazians bury nearly a whole clan found in rubble in a mass funeral for 112. So mass funeral held in Gaza for victims of the 2023 Israeli strike. So this is a strike that was held a few years back, and they're just now getting around to burying some of those folks and all along those lines. But East Asia is baking in cruelly hot summer. I know we've been talking about the hot summer in Europe, but apparently it's cruelly hot in East Asia. They said a record heat wave impacted people and animals in Japan and the Korean Peninsula. So Seoul braces for a heat wave sweeping South Korea as their death toll reaches 16. So looks like there's a lot of heat going on. I know that we are supposed to be in the high 80s, but then we're supposed to hit the 90s here in Durham, North Carolina, and that's supposed to last, I think, for a week and a half. So we've definitely been feeling some heat as well. But you know, there's some people that think that global warming doesn't exist and everything like that. I did learn that one of Trump's allies is about to retire. So the Mike Lindell, the head CEO of MyPillow, is going to retire after 22 years in as the head of that organization. So he's going to.
Well, he's Mike Lindell is insane, and he ran his business into the ground. So
he's very
Today is day 96 or 97 of gas, national average being over $4 a gallon. Trump is trying to suspend some of the taxes on gas to see if he can drop the price. We'll see.
We'll see how that plays out. North Korea, we might have another conflict because North Korea's Kim Yo-jong is warning of a new military options over Japan's strike capabilities. So she's issued a military threat over Japan's missile test. So who knows? Maybe North Korea and Japan are getting ready to get into it as well because they're warning of more military steps over Japan's rearmament. So it doesn't look like they're too happy with each other as well. So maybe we're going to have a couple of Asian countries going at it as well.
Did you talk about the Department of Defense jamming GPS, causing a medevac plane to crash, causing a forest fire in New Mexico? All right. So White Sands Missile Testing Range in southern New Mexico was testing a GPS jammer that shut down GPS on planes in the area, which caused a plane with the pilot and some medical personnel to crash into a mountain, which started a fire. There's plenty of blame to go around, but the blame starts with the Department of Defense making it impossible for planes to navigate in the area, which seems like one more screw up from the Department of War. Sasha, what do you have?
What do I have? Well, mostly I'm following, of course, Russia-Ukrainian war and Iran, U.S.-Israel war. I was talking a lot about it in yesterday's Ukrainian show, that Israelis getting very uneasy about Trump's politics. One day he says that he will annihilate Iran and he will destroy bridges, all kinds of things. So Israelis are getting their planes ready to fly, and they put on the bombs and missiles, everything ready, and they're ready to fly at any second. Sometime later he says, "Oh, I got a phone call that Iran now wants to talk. So I decided to give him one more chance." Okay, so Israelis have to take down all the bombs and missiles and everything else and get back to their barracks. Well, a day, 2 days later, I'm going to annihilate. It's going to be something you never seen before. Same thing, they have to go and bring their bombs and missiles or so on, and then you cancel that either. So they cannot function like that. It's not a clowns. It's an army with a highly trained and motivated force, excellent military machine, and to play around this clown, they don't want to do it anymore.
So Trump just says whatever. What happens is Trump talks one way, and then he sees the price of oil go up, and then he freaks out and he says something else. None of it is tied to maybe his people are telling him stuff, but most of it isn't tied to any real developments with Iran negotiations. It's all Trump trying to stop the price of oil from going up.
You see, the problem is that today is very difficult to hide anything for a long, even for a short period of time. Iranians are very astute people. They understand U.S. weaknesses. They understand that the stockpile of interceptors is down to 20% compared to when it was when the war started. They understand the upcoming election with the very dire consequences for Trump, quite possible, most likely. They understand that Trump cannot go to all-out war, invasion, and so on. again because of the shortages of many different types of missiles and other stuff. And
Well, that's one thing, but also all-out war against Iran doesn't work because Iraq did all-out war against Iran for 8 years in the 80s.
yeah, okay. So let's agree that the American military force is not the same as the Iraq. So I wouldn't compare this. However, Iraq was on the ground all the time, or trying to be on the ground.
With a quarter
Yes, you could go on the ground. Well, that's the problem. So they can continue this bombing and missiles and so on. But Iran is very resilient, and they already figured out how to deal with this air attacks. So it's no longer the factor.
It doesn't seem like it's got much hope and everything like that. By the way, I did see that in a part of the world, Latin America, that I mentioned the live streamer that was killed while doing his live stream, and then Brazil has downgraded its diplomatic ties with Argentina after Milei insulted Lula, who is the president of Brazil, and I understand he's got some Trump-like ways as well, but Brazil has cut diplomatic presence in Argentina after Milei insulted Lula. Apparently, the Argentina leader is now doubling down on calling the Brazil president a thief. So and Brazil wants the Argentine ambassador out. So it sounds like these two Latin American countries are at it as well. So maybe your prediction of a World War III might be coming sooner versus later, Sasha, and everything.
No, the World War III is, you can argue that it's already there. The only thing people should understand that it's not going to be all out nuclear war. No, it's not going to be, because the mutual assured destruction never disappeared anywhere. It's still there. So even if Russia and US will start unlimited exchange of nuclear devices, so one side will be destroyed, say 75%, and the other side 80%. So who is the winner? If you are destroyed as much as 75%, are you the winner? Oh, that's laughable.
And apparently Japan has now outlined its military build-up plan. It's got something, the Japan's 2026 Defense White Paper digests. They're citing threats from China, Russia, and North Korea, and even China is complaining to Japan over the Defense White Paper is what the Foreign Ministry is saying of their area. So like I said, a lot of the world is having various conflicts in various places. It looks like Romania, coming back to climate change, has blasted rocks to divert water from the drought-hit Danube to the nuclear reactor. So ships can't move and power plants are shutting down as drought is sapping Europe's river. And we do know that particular river is a major river there in Europe. So Hungary's only nuclear plant is on the brink of shutdown as Europe heat wave is threatening their energy crisis and all along those lines. Hey, Rick, what did you hearing about? I heard that I think it's Abdul El Said did win. And,
narrowly. 48.5% to 1% victory, of 48.5 for him versus 47.5 for Haley Stevens. This is to be the Democratic nominee for the Senate in the state of Michigan. Said is progressive, is sympathetic to the Palestinians. Haley Stevens is pro-Israel, spent $60 million, a bunch of she spent $65 million outside money. She was the establishment candidate. The governor endorsed her, and the other guy pulled out. I don't think he's socialist, but he's more progressive than Haley Stevens. And it's one more victory for progressive candidates. At least among Democratic voters in a lot of places, they prefer the progressive candidate to the more traditional candidate, which gives the Republicans a fear point. Whenever a progressive candidate wins, the Republicans say, here comes communism, here comes socialism. It really isn't coming, but the Republicans have nothing to run on since it's a disaster for them right now. They haven't done anything for Americans in the past year and a half, so they have to run on fear about what the other side will do.
And then they got some of their MAGA reps that are having their own problems because even here in North Carolina, Representative Chuck Edwards has dropped his reelection bid after a censure recommendation over some sexual harassment charges. So a MAGA rep, and that's Chuck Edwards, accused of harassing staff, announced at 3:30 a.m. So he waited until way early in the morning to announce that he won't seek reelection. So maybe this is a way to make sure that it didn't hit the news channels as aggressively as it might have done if he had done it earlier.
Right. And there's one more Republican representative who's in deep trouble. This Max Miller out of Ohio has been accused by his ex-wife of breaking his baby's collarbone, of throwing boiling water at his ex. Two other women, I think, have come forward speaking about his violent behavior. The guy, you can tell he's a weightlifter. He has his suits tailored to show that he's got very wide shoulders and a small waist. And yesterday, in an interview with Jake Tapper, he said that he's on testosterone. Testosterone equals steroids. The guy is a steroid abuser, and he has anger and violence issues. So he's a freaking idiot to admit that he's on steroids with a anger problem. His former father-in-law has denounced him. Senator Bernie Moreno says this guy shouldn't be in the House of Representatives. Miller is refusing to pull out of the race. He's got the rest of this week to pull out of the race where they can replace him on the ballot. After that, I think it's too late, and he has to be the candidate. But anyway, he's a creepy idiot.
He sounds like a creepy idiot and everything like that. By the way, I know that you're there in California, and I know that there was a fire last year that was devastating a lot of people, and it looks like they finally found the cause. So officials say they found the cause of the fire that devastated LA, including Eden and everything like that. So they're saying a utility tower spark is been confirmed as the cause of the 2025 Eden fire. So the devastating LA wildfire apparently was sparked by a utility company tower, is what a long-awaited report is saying, and that's the fire that decimated Altadena as well as other parts.
So we had two fires. We had them going at the same time. We had the Malibu fire, we had the Eden fire in Altadena, and yeah, it's been a long-standing gripe against California's energy companies that they're too cheap to replace old equipment. That when you are running high voltage electricity across the landscape, those thick ass wires they get blown around in the wind, and that eventually erodes the hooks that keep them separate from the towers. And you have to have thick you have to have big gaps with to make sure that the electricity doesn't arc from the wires to the towers. And a lot of these suspension systems are worn out, and when it's windy, they spark, and then you get fires. So
that would be what caused it and everything like that. So apparently it wasn't necessarily man-made and everything like that. We're talking about the other races, not just.
Well, like I said, there were two fires, and a guy was prosecuted. A lunatic was prosecuted for starting the Malibu half of the fires. Right. But the prosecution failed. I assume he'll go back on trial in a few months, but they could not get a guilty verdict for the guy starting the fires.
And those guilty verdicts will be very interesting. I told you I've got a family member that was killed some time back. She was a UNC student, and her alleged killer is being up on charges now, but he is pleading not guilty. So this Latin American gentleman is pleading not guilty to the death of Faith Hedgepeth, who was a UNC student, and now we'll see what happens in the trial and all along those lines. But we were talking earlier about what's going on with the various political campaigns and everything like that, and I did see that Democratic Maria Glassenkamp Perez survived Washington's crowded primary. I don't know anything about this particular lady, but they say that her and a Trump-backed Republican have advanced in Washington's 3rd district primary. So there's a lot of races that people are watching in, because apparently this is also one of the nation's most watched races as well. So we'll see what.
It's 90 days until the midterms, and I tweeted out yesterday that the news will get 2% more stupid every day between now and the midterms. And by news, I mean Trump will get more desperate and will say and do crazier crap. There's a lot more shenanigans to come in the next 3 months.
We've already got some shenanigans. Apparently, House Democrats have added 12 solidly Trump districts to their midterm electorate target list. So they're already thinking that Trump is weak even in some of his strong areas in the past. So they've added 12 GOP seats to their midterm target map, and we'll see whether this works out for them or not. And by the way, the FBI secretly opened the probe alleging Trump fired Comey because he was a Russian spy, basically. So we'll see how this plays out.
Again, crazy crap. Jim Comey, obviously, the head of the FBI, was not a Russian spy. It's just, but yeah, like I said, Trump will do crazy crap between now and the midterms, and also after the midterms when they lose the House, he'll just go crazy claiming that the election wasn't legitimate and starting all sorts of further investigations. Right now, Trump is underwater on all the major issues. That is, you take the percent of people who say he's doing a good job, you subtract the number of people who say he's doing a bad job, and he's in the negatives. He's minus 13% on immigration, minus 22.5% on trade, minus 29% on the economy, and minus 43% on inflation. And the inflation numbers for July come out next week. They're expected to be at around 3.32% for the month.
Well, speaking of stupidity, what is it with these people that keep going into areas?
You got to get closer to the mic. Your voice is not.
Hopefully you can hear me now. But what
yes.
is it with these folks that are going into places that are heavily guarded and all along those lines? Because I'm thinking that they just recently arrested a man with illegal weapons in a home and car, and this was at Trump's golf club in California. So, I mean, you know that one of his golf courses, just like you know that his home in Florida, are going to be heavily guarded. So why are you even bothering to go into these areas? Because this is in your neck of the woods. It was an armed man arrested at.
All right, yeah. So, okay, there's a thing called stochastic terrorism, where if you send out enough angry messaging across America, which has 350 million people, which includes millions of crazy people. If there is enough angry messaging about Trump, about liberals, a certain number of crazy people will absorb enough of it that they will be compelled to act in a crazy way.
Yeah, that makes sense. By the way, it looks like Missouri voters, speaking of the midterms and everything like that, rejected income tax phase out and an initiative petition changes. So they rejected a measure to limit their ballot box powers. I know there's even efforts here in North Carolina to change some of the rules around.
Well, can we go back to stochastic terrorism? So stochastic terrorism is where you send out angry messages and at random, crazy people try to take action, but crazy people take ineffective action. When you look at the history of political assassinations in the U.S., it's usually a crazy person getting lucky. That doesn't really apply to.
Or the person that tried to take out Kennedy and a number of other folks. Yeah, they usually got something.
So if you buy that there was a single shooter, it was a crazy shooter for Kennedy. Lincoln was an exception. Lincoln was a kind of a small group of people who made an effective plan. But Reagan gets shot by a crazy person who wanted to shoot Reagan because he thought that would get him a date with the actor Jodie Foster. It's usually crazy people. Usually crazy people make terrible plans, and if they succeed at all, it's just because they got, like, it was a fluke and they got lucky.
Speaking of crazy people and all along those lines, it came up in North Carolina. It came up in the WNBA. There was a coach that was being pro-trans, and definitely she's been getting some flack because folks are saying that she shouldn't have made that political statement at a WNBA game, even though the WNBA is known for making political statements and everything along those lines. But then right here in North Carolina, where me and Jatovia are, there is a whole fight over the school board, particularly in Wake County, over folks wanting trans people to dress what they consider gender appropriate, whatever the heck that means. Because if you're identifying as a woman, you should be able to dress as a woman and everything like that. But apparently some of the parents are upset, and if it is a man that is being a trans woman, then they want them to dress more as a man, if I'm understanding the whole legal fight. But to me, you should be able to, and I want to say the person was, one of them was a theater teacher and everything like that. So you would think that they would dress flamboyantly and everything like that. But I'm just wanting y'all's take on that, because I did see this on our local.
I think it's a garbage distraction. A lot of transit. Now, I believe the trans people have a right to live as they want. And any kind of uproar over this. Now, the trans in sports is a slightly different issue, because those are competitions. But in terms of, like, walking down the freaking street, going to the grocery store, who gives a crap, what gender you dress as? And getting upset about it plays into the, anytime anybody's upset about trans issues, check your pocket, because the Republicans are stealing your wallet.
Well, the MAGAs and the Republicans here in North Carolina are saying that the parents are upset. And Jatovia, I don't know whether you've been following this story or not, but I'm going like, I don't think that the parents are really in that much of an uproar over somebody being dressed in a certain style, but they're claiming that it's influencing the kids as they're being educated. And I don't know how it's supposed to be influencing the kids if they're there to learn drama, or even if they're there to learn calculus and everything like that. But that's the whole argument that I was hearing on the city council in Wake County and everything like that. But we're hearing it all over the country. People are upset that people want to identify in whatever ways that they want to identify. And I know one thing you talk about quite often, Jatovia, is this notion of otherism, and this just seems to be another otherism to me and everything like that. So what's your take on this, Jatovia? Because like I said, as I was watching the news, I'm going like, this is just stupidity.
It's manufactured outrage at less than 1% of the population. It's a ridiculous argument.
I agree with you. It's definitely a ridiculous argument. I don't understand why there was a big argument. It was a big news story that was part of our local news feeds that were going on, because I was watching some of our local news feeds as I was preparing for this show last night and everything like that. But it's just crazy and everything like that. What else are you seeing in the news? I do see that the FBI says it is investigating the Trump helicopter safety incident in Washington. So I know he's fixing his plane, but apparently there's also something going on with his helicopter as well. And apparently,
so the thing that annoys libs about Trump's helicopter right now is that Trump tore up the whole front lawn of the White House. For 50 years. The Marine One, which is Trump's, the president's helicopter, lands on the grass and picks up the president, takes him to the airport where he gets on Air Force One. So Trump doesn't want to walk across the grass anymore. So he tore up the whole lawn and is putting down a massive granite presidential seal. The thing is, I don't know, like 100 feet across. It's a helipad. No more lawn. It's a big circular granite seal for the helicopter to land on. And it's been installed, but we don't know how much. I'm sure millions of bucks. Trump is now uninstalling it because he doesn't think it's sufficiently level. So he's reinstalling the granite helipad. And I don't know, like when you put down granite, or you need to lay cement underneath with rebar and so that the ground doesn't subside unevenly and wreck your pad. I don't know if they even did that. Also, you don't necessarily want it to be perfectly level, because then when it rains, if it's level, then it puddles. You need a couple degrees of slope so the water runs off. So who knows? It could be another reflecting pool of incompetence.
Well, speaking of the reflecting pool, apparently he is at odds with some of his people in his administration, including his attorney general, because apparently she's not really going after the folks that were supposedly causing damage to the reflecting pool and everything like that. So I did see that, I believe her name is Janine Pereiro and something like that.
Judge Janine Pirro. She was on Fox News. She's been on Fox News for 25 years as a reliable, hyper-conservative, rabble-rousing voice. The same way as Fox's primetime lineup.
But apparently he's at odds with her, and he's also at odds with his press secretary, Caroline Levitt, and a number of other folks. So maybe there is some break in his administration and everything like that. So I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on that, but I do see that there are more conflicts between him and some of his staff.
Well, that's good, because in the lead up to the midterms, we want Trump to be distracted by feuding. Anything that keeps him distracted keeps him from doing serious stuff.
Yeah, definitely, that makes sense. By the way, what is everybody's thoughts around this notion of medical aid in Diane? Because apparently that was one of the things that came up in the midterms and the elections yesterday. New York legalized medical aid in Diane after a decade-long battle, but they did say that Catholic nuns can continue ministry without being forced to assist suicide. So there's a new option for terminally ill patients in New York, which is medically assisted death and everything. Like, I know some people are big time fans of this. There's a famous case of the good doctor that was involved in that and everything like in that space. But I just wanted y'all's own personal views, because apparently in New York it's going to be very much allowed, if you are terminally ill, that you can have a medically assisted suicide.
Within reason. Again, it's a matter of degree in situations that, and it's another artificially divisive issue. Like in a lot of cases, this is done even without, legal approval. That if somebody has a brutal cancer and they're on their way out, but they're suffering, the doctor will, say, well, we'll just give them some morphine and maybe some more morphine. And everybody understands that that's too much morphine, that you're going to OD, and the family's okay with it, the patient is okay with it, and it just happens.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now they're just putting a legal framework around stuff like that.
Yeah, they're putting a legal framework. Speaking of legal frameworks, I don't remember when it became a popular term, but it is definitely a popular term out there. You hear people using it all the time. I've even heard you use it occasionally, this notion of brain fog. But apparently in Boston, this is now part of a woman's legal defense. So Lindsay Clancy is chronicled her desperation and quote-unquote brain fog in her diary before the killing of her 3 children.
This is the lady who strangled her 3 kids and then jumped out a window?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a woman on trial who killed her kids, jumped out a window. Now she's paralyzed, and she's on trial for the murders. And
claiming brain fog, and she's claiming that that was part of what was going on.
And I'm sure, like, postpartum depression and a lot of stuff. And I'm sure that a lot of this is the case in that she killed her kids. So obviously there was something wrong with her psychologically. Right. And it's up to the legal system to decide, how much punishment to impose on the lady who killed her kids. On the one hand, you can say she's crazy and you can lock her up, or then you can let her go because you've decided she was crazy then, but she's better now. It's part of the justice system to decide, how much you punishment. I mean, she's paralyzed, so she's I don't know. I mean, I don't.
Realized that she's already lost her kids and everything like that, even though she's the one that killed them and everything in that space. By the way, a story, this is a separate story, that you talk about quite often is this notion of Trump's polling numbers. And apparently they hit a new low a few days ago, and some folks are saying that even though his numbers are cratering, that we should expect him to change course. So Trump's polls are plunging, but there's even an article in the USA Today saying Delulu Donald doesn't live in reality, so we don't need to have him think that he's going to start changing his ways.
Well, I'm sure his people, the people around him, he's not good at absorbing information. He's not somebody who goes online and looks around for information. Any information he gets from the people around him. And they're not going to present him necessarily with the very worst polls. They're going to present him with the polls that say you still have 83% approval among Republicans. Now, overall, according to Nate Silver, which is an aggregator, he's at his lowest point yet at 38.1% approval, 58.5% disapproval. And even if he did know these actual numbers, that means that still nearly 40% of Americans support him. So no, he's not going to change course on anything.
He's not going to change course and all along those lines. I do want to find out, because I know his show's coming up in about 15 minutes, what investment news is going on and all along those lines. But before I get to that, I know you talk a lot, Rick, about AI, and apparently there is an AI story that is involving an animal and everything like that. Because, you know, there are a lot of times animals that are seen as like symbols of the country or symbols of the various causes. There's Smokey the Bear, there's of course the bald eagle, and apparently bald eagle Jackie's condition has worsened, and he's at the OJ Raptor Center. I think that's there in California and everything like that. But apparently his caretakers are urging the public to avoid rumors and AI fakes. So I guess because he's sick, that they're going to be fakes about him making.
Okay, so let me give you the background. Please. There is an eagle cam on a male-female eagle couple, Jackie and Shadow. Year after year, every year there's an egg watch. There's a camera above where they build their nest, and every year they try to raise 2-3 eaglets. So these eagles are famous in California. And Jackie, like a month ago, got in a territorial fight on the ground with another, I don't know, eagle, because I guess they're territorial, and Jackie got messed up. And she's been in the hospital for the past month, and she was doing it every day, like her condition improves, it declines, but I guess now people are making AI fakes of Jackie doing stuff.
Yeah, they're making AI fakes and making rumors that she's doing well or doing worse or doing whatever and everything like that. You know, there's something we all need in life. There's no doubt about it. You got to have it to survive and everything like that. And I know we've got a show that Rexley does on cyber attacks, but they're saying that the number of states targeted at cyber attacks on water systems has jumped to 12. So 2 New Jersey municipal water systems were targeted in cyber attacks. There was attacks in Georgia, and there was other attacks as well. So how concerned are you individuals about your water? Because I mean, you need it for your laundry, you need it to cook, you need it just to drink, and a number of other things. But apparently they're saying that those cyber attacks has jumped to 12, and that's out of the 50 states. So maybe eventually they'll get to all 50
so
states.
The last time I saw, there were cyber attacks on water systems in 7 states. Maybe the number has gone up.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's Iran messing with us. I think Trump had some weird BS that it's liberals, doing like, I don't know, false flag attacks or some crap. I don't know. But anyway, Iran is probably screwing with us because we are bombing Iran.
It could be that and everything like that. Hey, Sasha, I know that at 1 o'clock, you and Jim will be talking to modern investment. I know that for a while there, you were real big, and I guess you're still big on NVIDIA, but what else will y'all be talking about, and what other kind of like investment should people be paying attention to? Like I said, I know there are a lot of people who are paying attention to some of the AI companies and all along those lines. But what are you seeing that you and Jim and who knows, maybe Rick will join you as well? We'll be discussing.
Yeah, we'll discuss it at 1 o'clock. But yesterday was a very significant, very important day for AI. Yesterday, it was validated that all the billions of dollars spent on the data centers and so on is really beneficial for companies that investing in it. They're all making incredible profits. So there is no more question to whether it's going to pay, when it's going to pay, or so on. It's all out in the garbage. And you can see the action of stocks yesterday. The stock market was really flying on that news. And it continues on today, by the way, too. In 2 days, for example, stock like NVIDIA jumped from, say, under $200. It's today over $220. It's 10% move in 3 days, 4 days. But many other stocks did very similar thing. So it's probably a very good time to be invested in AI.
So the Dow Jones is up 13% for the year. It hit an all-time record yesterday. It might do it again today. People are concerned about an AI bubble because a lot of the increases in the markets are driven by AI companies, and there's still a lot of smoke around.
No, it went all down the drain yesterday. What's happened yesterday is that all the major companies, which were in fact invested billions of dollars every quarter, they report there was so much critique about it. It was Microsoft and Meta and many other substantial companies. Okay, so we invested billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, and where is the pay? How, when, and how is going to be returned? Yesterday, the answer was it's already returning very handsome profits. So
How?
now,
Where's the money coming from?
so from users, they are they have corporate users. They have corporate accounts that they can add for some additional cost. Also, use of AI, and the money is really rolling. It's you should investigate it. Yesterday was a very important day in the market. It was
So even though most people in the world use AI for free, every time I use Google, AI gives me an answer. I'm not paying Google, but you're saying corporations want extra fancy AI to help run their companies, and they're paying big money back to Meta.
absolutely all these free services that you can use now. It's almost like, come on, okay, try me out. Oh, you like it? Now it's pay time. It's unavoidable. It's going to be like that. It's just a matter of time. It's months from now, 3 months from now.
So a couple of things real quick. The pay services for AI have been around for a very long time. Very long time. It's not a new thing. And the reason people are it's think of AI like the music industry or the movie industry. If you are the distribution place, you're making more money than the actual artist. If you're BMG, you're making more money than Eminem.
Yeah.
So the data center is where the money is, and that's why the data centers are coming regardless, which sucks, but that's what's going to happen because people want to make money. The pay portion of it, even though you're saying you're using it for free, you're not. You're selling your data. The reason you're using Google for free is because your data is being sold. Your searches, everything, anything that it connects to, is being sold. That's where the free comes into play. Use Facebook. Guess what? You know, when you see all those, you can't sell my information. Well, I'm sorry, you already signed the actual contract when you signed up for Google, for Facebook. So all that stuff is being sold. That's how these things are done for free. And then when you pay more on top, it's just an extra added bonus, because just like when you get free check bags at the at Southwest, you're paying a little bit more for Southwest for those free check bags. Well, you know, if your first bag checked for free at $49, yeah, okay, you're gonna pay that later. It's just you're gonna get. They're gonna take money anyway.
But how much of these free services are not going to be free? Because I know that I have a Gmail account. I think you do as well, and a number of other people do here on the network. And I know that when I look, you can actually see that there is a AI breakdown of your email and everything like that. So if you click on it, it will give you almost like an AI version of what your email is, and it's a way that they claim that you can thin out your email and get rid of all that junk mail. But I noticed that it is given like a whole AI report as to the correspondence that I've had back and forth and everything like that.
Yeah, so you're using Gmail, and Gmail's using the AI. You think it's free. Again, what did it just say? It's just grabbing your data and it's selling your data, because those advertisers on those ads that you see. So if you email Target, guess what? You're going to get ads about what you're going to buy. If you're looking up something, that's what happens. It's just aggregating your data and selling your data to the highest bidder, and that bidder takes and just tries to send you ads and everything else. That's just the way the internet works. That's natural. It's always been there, and it isn't changing now.
But does all this circle jerk of data and does it lead to actual increases in people making more money and buying more actual stuff, or is it all like smoke?
So you think that businesses are going to invest into something that's not going to make them money?
Yeah, but I remember, because I'm old, 30 years ago, there was a huge real estate bubble where people were selling property back and forth to each other 8 times, where I buy something for $1 million. I sell it to you for 1.2. You sell it back to me for 1.4. You keep doing that, and all that. You have this property that is bullshit, but it is supposedly on paper worth all this money because it makes people money and all these. Is this a...
You said 3 key words: makes people money. That's the whole point of it. So in the gaming industry, now in the gaming industry, you're paying for upgrades. You're paying for the extra pieces. In the auto industry, if you buy a BMW, guess what extra you got to buy? The extra pieces that you want to do to automatically unlock your door and do all this extra stuff. Tesla, you buy a Tesla, you get these extra things. They can shut off your car if you don't pay these bills. Your phone, you don't own your phone.
Here's my question. Here's my question. So for the past 2 years, we've been hearing AI bubble. It's all smoke. And have we decided it's not a bubble now, and it's not going to suddenly collapse when everybody loses confidence?
It's that's in the real estate bubble. Did people still buy land?
Well, yeah, because there's only so much land, right?
Okay. But my point is, people still bought land, and is the real estate market still going? It just landed at a different place that was not where the bubble thought. In the internet bubble, the .com bubble.
So there was an internet bubble in the year 2000. Everybody lost their butts. Then Google comes along in the mid to 2003, 2004, and that leads us to the current era where everybody uses the internet all the freaking time.
There's always going to be a bubble in these big shifts. AI is a big shift. It's coming regardless. It's going to land in a particular place that we might not think of where it's going to land right now, but it's happening. The data centers, everything else. Sasha's talking about the stock market and how it's going up because of these data centers. It's true. The investments that are there, that's happening regardless. But what we tend to talk about are all these, again, these high-level pieces. The stock market isn't right now. The reason Mamdani is doing well, for example, Mamdani just put out a bill, and he's talking about having a 10% discount on automated on the self checkout. That's what people want. They're not caring about. They're not caring too much about. Sit down. They're not caring too much about the stock market. If I can't pick up some eggs, and if I can pick up some eggs for 10% cheaper, and instead of paying at $5, paying less than $5 because I'm using self checkout because Walmart only has self checkout, that's going to cheapen my grocery prices. So I'm happy about that. They're not caring about the investments in. So that's where the population is, the populace is. That's why there's so much outrage across not only this country, but other countries, because everything is so expensive. And they know that data centers are coming, and data centers are going to ruin everything about, it's going to take away water. It's going to increase the heat. It's going to increase my electric bill. It's going to increase all these things. That's what people are thinking about across the globe. That's a universal thing. But
then I got a question for you and Sasha. These data centers are basically giant server farms, right?
Yep.
So are companies like NVIDIA working on, they have to be more efficient chips that generate less heat, that eventually the data centers will not be as...
They're working on it all the time.
Okay.
I mean, so NVIDIA looked into the whole Bitcoin data center and everything else with their GPU NVIDIA was about making graphics cards. In COVID, people figured out a way to utilize, before COVID, but utilize those graphics cards to do giant computations and do the Bitcoins and do all this stuff that we're doing right now, the AI chips and everything else. That's what they use their GPU for. Other companies didn't really realize that, but again, it was the community that created the Bitcoin craze and the all this other craze. And then NVIDIA figured, okay, well, this is what our GPUs are going to be used for. This is what our cards are going to be used for. And this is just another avenue of money. So, of course, they're trying to create more efficient chips. All these
I think that they provided a cooling system as part of their newest chips. So it's becoming almost like a part of the project. So you don't have to think, okay, I'll buy this, and then I have to think about cooling system, where I'm going to get it, how it will integrate with this. No longer the case. It's coming with its own cooling system. So the advancements are happening all the time.
An analogy of something that's analogous to what's going on, I keep bringing up the EV industry in China. That is the most, I guess, up to date, analogous situation with EVs, the battery technology that people are trying to figure out. Because right now BYD is talking about a car that's now going to charge in 6 minutes. But everybody was jumping in on EVs, and everybody was jumping in on the battery technology, the lithium ion technology that they were creating or that was going on. Then what ended up happening is that was another bubble. So a lot of car companies that try to invest early, or these upstart industries that try to invest early, are trying to shift over now and trying to figure out the best battery technology. Because what's the worst thing about an EV in the US is the infrastructure and the actual time it takes to charge the battery.
Yes.
In China right now, the infrastructure is there, and they're figuring out the actual time constraints. You figure out the time constraints, and that's the whole huge shift on the energy situation that's going on. They have the blade technology that's going on right now, which is that 6-minute charging system. So if you watch the way how that technology is changing really quickly, and all the companies that jumped in to start that are not there anymore, that's the same thing that's going on with AI. There are a ton of companies that are going to jump in early, and it may not land again where it's going to land. But these investments are happening, and people are starting to understand you got the money is going to be in data centers. That's where your money is going to be.
I have statistics. Right now, the U.S. has about 4,500 data centers. Canada has about 10% that many. China has about the same number as Canada, except China, A, doesn't necessarily tell the truth, and B, a Chinese data center can be 10 times the size of a U.S. data center.
And that's where it is.
And one more statistic. Right now, data centers use 5% of all the electricity consumed in the U.S. That's supposed to double in the next 10 years.
Yeah. So there has to be some improvements in the electric grid, and rather soon.
Yeah, and you can see from the fires in LA, also Texas, like a lot of states are cheap and they don't want to invest in infrastructure. And so, yeah, the U.S. Electric grid is patchy. It's not, it's little fixes here and there. It's not all tied together. So it's not resistant to power surges and storms and
yeah.
So there is much more use to improve electric grid in the United States than to build this Patriot missiles interceptors and spend another $500 billion. I would question
Speaking of that, really quickly, and I know we're winding down, but we can go maybe a few minutes over and everything like that. But Sasha, one of the things that I was going to ask you is that they say that the U.S. has used nearly all of its stockpile of long-range missiles in the Iran war. So they said nearly 80% of the interceptors for a key missile system are depleted. So should the U.S. and those that are interested in defense spending be worried about this? Because even Fox News is saying that this is an alarming missile report and it is drawing a forceful response from Trump. So apparently our arsenal is running significantly.
Well, let's talk about the term interceptor. Interceptor refers to a missile that knocks out Iranian missiles that are targeting our people. They're those mid-air missiles that, and without them, our people are more vulnerable.
Exactly.
Yep. So it sounds like it could be dangerous because they're saying it's like 80% of them are gone and everything like that. So we're getting ready to wrap this show up, and we'll have some other conversations. I'm actually working on bringing on some guests for next week and everything like that. But I know we'll have the investment show coming up at 1 o'clock. We do have, but it'll be a rerun, the Medicare show, which he's actually out of town, but it'll be back on next week as a full episode. But it'll be a rerun at 12, and then we'll be having you at 1 o'clock, Sasha. So looking forward to that.
See you at 1.
Yep. See you at 1.
Bye-bye.